Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. Now today, what I thought we could do for a bit of fun is look back at the previous 33 weeks of the season so far, look at each of my weekly predictions videos, tally them up and see what the table would look like if all of my predictions had come true. I think this is a very interesting way of looking at things. You can see if I've got a bias towards any team, if I really don't like any team, and we'll see what the table would look like if all of my predictions came true. Just before we get into this video guys, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and let's go for 100 likes today guys. Let's get into this video by starting at the bottom and working our way up. So then we'll go through the table 3 teams at a time, and just before we go through each team guys, it is worth pointing out that this isn't a prediction of how I feel right now. This is a prediction on how all of my predictions look over the last 33 weeks. Obviously lots of things have happened. I've felt different about some teams here and there, so it's interesting to see who's where. What's quite interesting then at the bottom 3 is you can see it's the current bottom 3 right now: Barnsley, Derby County and Peterborough. I have added on the 21 point deduction to Derby obviously. That isn't just all the predictions I've given them, and you can see there fairly accurate based on what we've seen so far. So Barnsley bottom, Derby County 23rd, Peterborough 22nd. You know my feelings on the bottom 3 though guys. I think Derby will survive come the end of the season, so it'll be interesting to see what the end of the season table actually looks like. Next up then, you can see quite interestingly I've got Bristol City 21st, Reading 20th and Hull City 19th. Goes to show that I don't back Bristol City to win very often because they're 4th from bottom, and I have added on the 6 point deduction for Reading, which is quite surprising. So I've backed Reading a fair bit considering they haven't been very good this season. Hull City in a pretty realistic position as well, you can see there guys. So far I've been fairly accurate with my weekly predictions tallied up to what the actual table looks like. Next up after that I've got Cardiff City, Millwall and Swansea all in the mid-30s, so you can see they've all got about a similar amount of points, and once again it's fairly accurate. Maybe not so nice to Millwall, but Cardiff and Swansea are actually about there in the table, aren't they? Once again what it does show is I don't back these teams to win all too often, but if they're in the bottom half of the actual table then I was right. Next up then, as we come up to mid-table, you've got Preston North End, Stoke City and Birmingham City. One of them I'm really surprised by is Birmingham City. I back them quite often. Look where they are in this table. They're mid-table. If all my predictions had come true, Birmingham City would be mid-table. They're not really anywhere near that in the real table. Preston and Stoke, it's fairly close because they're mid-table teams at the moment. So yeah, not the worst weekly predictions from me so far. Next few clubs are Blackpool, Huddersfield Town and Middlesbrough. Blackpool, yeah, that's pretty fairly accurate to where they actually are in the table. Huddersfield and Middlesbrough I'm a little bit harsh to by the looks of it, because they're both actually in the top 6 at the time of recording this in the actual table, and based on all of my predictions they'd be closer to mid-table, so maybe I need to back Huddersfield Town and Middlesbrough to win more games in the future. Just outside the top 6 then we've got Blackburn Rovers, West Bromwich Albion and Coventry City all in the sort of low 50s. Blackburn Rovers, once again, maybe I haven't predicted them to win as many games as they have. West Bromwich Albion, I feel like that's fairly accurate so far. I've backed them enough times to be fairly accurate with where they are in the actual table. Coventry City in 7th place, you can see I've shown a bit of bias through the season. What's quite interesting is I've only backed Coventry to lose about 3 or 4 times this season. I'm always just backing us to win or draw, and plenty of draws in there, which is why I've put us 7th. So yeah, you can see that I'm showing a little bit of bias for Coventry, but not massive bias. We're not in the top 6 in this table. In my top 6 then I have got Luton Town, Queen's Park Rangers and Sheffield United. So it goes to show I backed Luton Town to win more than they have done this season, but to be honest they're quite close to where that is in the table as well. So yeah, I do respect Luton Town. I do back them to win quite a lot. Queen's Park Rangers, I back them to win a fair bit, and you know, they're in the playoffs as well, so I'm fairly reliable with that. One thing that interested me is Sheffield United. I've backed them to win a lot. They'd be on 60 points if all of my weekly predictions had come true. They're obviously improving through the season, but their real poor start to the season did catch me off guard when I was backing them to win quite a lot, and they really did take a long time to get going. So then as we move into my top 3, we've got AFC Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest and Fulham Football Club. We'll start with Bournemouth. This is fairly accurate, you know, 61 points. 3rd place. I know they're 2nd in the real table, so I back Bournemouth to win quite a lot, quite understandably. They've got good players and I've always expected them to do well this season. Nottingham Forest has surprised me a bit. Once again, they've been actually quite good recently in the table, but seems like I've backed them to win a lot this season. They'd be 2nd if all of my predictions had come right. And by the way, I'm not a Nottingham Forest fan. It just goes to show it's quite interesting. If you guys were to go back through all of your predictions weekly and tally them up, it'd be interesting to see where you'd have teams, because it's quite hard to remember how many times you've backed a team. And you know, Nottingham Forest 2nd in the table, I didn't think I'd have them there. Fulham top of the league, no surprises there. I back Fulham to win most weeks, and to be honest, that's fairly accurate. I haven't backed them to win every week. I've got them on 67 points. In the real table, they've got about 65, 64 points. So you can see there, with some teams I'm fairly accurate. I'm backing them to win most weeks or giving them the right amount of points through the season, but there's a few teams in there that have really surprised me. So then guys, that wraps up today's video. Let me know what you think of this down below. If you guys were to do predictions every single week and tally them up, you'd be surprised by which teams are where and how many times you've backed certain teams, because honestly, I haven't backed Barnsley many times this season, which is fairly accurate. I haven't backed Peterborough to win many times this season, once again fairly accurate, but there's a few teams down there I wasn't expecting, there's a few teams up there that I wasn't expecting, so it is really surprising. But that wraps it up for today's video, guys. Do make sure you've dropped a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you all in the very next video. Peace out.